I have reviewed many cars in my life. The BMW iX, the Volkswagen ID. Buzz, the Xpeng G9. But I can officially say, again, that this car, this 2500 kilos, 1.8 meters tall, 2.1 meters wide and 5 meters long tank is the biggest car that I have reviewed and driven so far in my life. Yeah, this car is big. It is as big as a Range Rover. And no, this is not a premium SUV. This is not the new electric Range Rover. No, this is a Kia. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a Kia. Hello there, monsters and men, ladies and people. This is the new Kia EV9 and welcome to Recharging. And look at those balloon tires. I haven't seen those in a while. This Kia EV9 stands on the standard 19-inch wheels and then you get those balloon tires. You can also get 21-inch wheels, but with these tires, well, they add comfort and you never have to worry that you damage your beautiful rims. I am driving the rear-wheel drive version of the Kia EV9 and to be fair, this version of the EV9 is one of the slowest EVs that I have ever driven. It has 204 horsepower and accelerating this 2500 kilo tank from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour will take you 9.4 seconds. If you have the all-wheel drive version of the Kia EV9, you have 384 horsepower and then accelerating it from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour will take you around 6 seconds. I am driving the 99.8 kilowatt hour version of the Kia EV9 and that is the standard version here in the Netherlands. But there is also a version available with a 76 kilowatt hour battery pack, only that version is not available in every market. What Kia does really well with their EV models is that you can see that they are Kias, but they don't just copy a car and make it bigger or smaller. No, they all have their own design. And the design of this Kia EV9, well, let's just say it looks like how I drew cars when I was 5. It is really boxy with large flat panels, which are great for catching bugs, by the way. But I have to say, I do like the front of this Kia EV9. It has a real presence on the road. And even though it is very boxy, it only has a drag coefficient of 0.28. And for this type of car, that is actually really good. Kia would be insane though to not put a frunk in this huge bonnet. And luckily, Kia is not insane because there is a frunk under there. And Kia has learned because instead of walking to the door, open the door, pull a lever to open the frunk, you can now open the frunk by holding a button here on the key. There it goes. And if I open it up, if you have the rear-wheel drive version, you will get a frunk of 90 liters. And if you have the all-wheel drive version, you get a frunk of 52 liters. Now, let's close this and take 5 big steps to the rear. When I first saw the pictures of the Kia EV9, I didn't really like the look of the rear of this car. But time has passed and at the moment, it is okay. It is not the most beautiful, but again, it is okay. What is not okay though, but what is amazing is the space inside this car, because this is the roomiest, spaciest, whatever car that I have driven in my whole life. Yes, a Volkswagen ID. Buzz is also roomy, but that is a van and this isn't. It is really impressive. If I open up the boot, you will see a boot space of 333 liters with the third row up, because yes, as standard, the Kia EV9 is a 7-seater. And then having 333 liters with the third row up is impressive. If I fold down the third row, which I can do by buttons here in the boot, you will see a boot space of 828 liters. And if I fold down the second row, which I can also do by buttons here in the boot, you get a boot space of a whopping 2318 liters. Yeah, you can camp in this car without any problem, as you can see. And besides the massive boot space, there is a 12-volt socket, a 230-volt socket, and you can store the boot cover here under the boot floor. Let's check out the room from inside. In most cars, the third row is only suited for children, but here in this Kia EV9, as an adult, I sit absolutely fine. I have plenty of headroom. I can also shove my feet under the seat in front of me, and if I want to, I have enough knee room. And I say if I want to, because with the press of a button, I can fold this seat forward so I can get out or get in just a little bit easier. If I get in the car, I can grab the seat and I can choose to put it all the way backwards like this. And then knee room, yeah, knee room is tight. Then it is only suited for children. But what I can also do is fold the seat forward. I can just lock it in place a little bit earlier. So maybe here, for example. And then I have plenty of knee room. The only thing is there is not a lot of support for your legs. So sitting here on a real long trip is not that comfortable, but sitting here for 1 or 2 hours, absolutely fine. Besides that, I have my own cup holders, I have my own USB-C port, own air vent, and I can recline the seat if I want to. And also here on the second row, I can be a giant and still sit perfect. I mean, does all of this space, all of this need any explanation? I can also recline my seat, I can move it forward or backwards to create more space. I mean, sitting with 7 people in the Kia EV9, you can do that without any problem. And just like the third row, I have my own USB-C port, I have my own air vent. There is a separate control here in the roof for the climate control. I have cup holders here in the middle, I have a door pocket, I have an armrest here in the middle, also with 2 cup holders. I have a flap behind the seats to store stuff. There is a pocket here under the center armrest where my arm just disappears. So much space, there is so much space. And I said that as standard you do get the EV9 as a 7-seater, but as an option you can also get this car as a 6-seater, and then instead of 3 seats here, you do have 2 separate seats. And if you want to, you can also rotate those seats 90 degrees or 180 degrees to create a living room vibe. So how does a 2500 kilo SUV that is not a BMW or a Porsche drive? Well, there is basically one way it can drive, right? And that is really comfortable. And that is what this Kia EV9 does. It is a really comfortable car to drive in. And not having that insanely quick acceleration actually helps with the comfortable feeling of this car. Also, you have good seats, plenty of adjustment in the seat and the steering wheel. Yes, this is a high car, but you don't sit high in the car, and that gives it a really pleasant driving position. What surprised me though about this Kia EV9 is that it barely leans in the corners, and you don't expect this from a car that is so high and has a comfortable suspension. Really well done by Kia. What helps with that though is that there is a battery pack in the floor that is almost 600 kilos. Yes, that is a lot, but that helps with a low center of gravity. Overall, the Kia EV9 is a really quiet car, a really comfortable car to drive in, and you really feel king of the road because it is so absolutely massive. For a modern car, the windows of the Kia EV9 are actually quite big, and also the mirrors are absolutely huge. So that means visibility all around for such a big car is actually not that bad. What helps with the better visibility is that instead of a rear view mirror, you can also have a camera feed here from a camera mounted on the back of the car. So that means even though your car is loaded with stuff or people, you can still see what is going on behind you. As every other Kia EV model, the EV9 stands on the 800-volt eGMP platform. So that means super fast charging speeds. The 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack has a maximum fast charging speed of 210 kilowatts. Fast charging it from 10 to 80% can be done in around 25 minutes. For normal charging, the EV9 has a 11 kilowatt onboard charger. Charging it then from 0 to 100% will take you around 10 hours. What is really cool though is that as one of the first cars, the EV9 does have support for vehicle to grid. So that means you can use your EV9 as a giant home battery to power, yes, your home. But there is only one problem, and that is that not only the car has to support vehicle to grid, but the charger also has to support vehicle to grid. And there is currently no charger that does. And therefore Kia is developing their own charger. They are currently testing it and they expect to release it by the end of 2024. As I have already said, I am driving the rear-wheel drive version with the 99.8 kWh battery pack of the EV9. That version has a WLTP range of 563 kilometers. If you have the all-wheel drive version with that same battery pack, you have a WLTP range of around 515 kilometers. But those are WLTP figures. What does it do in the real world? Well, during my test period it has been between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius, and when driving on mixed roads I get a range of around 520 kilometers. So that means in warmer conditions, yes, you can get the WLTP range of this car of 563 kilometers, and well, that is what we are used to from Kias. If you are driving on the highway, at least if I drive on the highway, I get a range of around 350 to 450 kilometers depending on my speed. In winter this is a bit less, in summer this is a bit more. But overall, for its size, I think the Kia EV9 is an efficient EV. Well done, Kia. What is also well done by Kia is that the EV9 ticks every EV driving feature box that there is. That means you have flippers behind the steering wheel to determine the amount of regeneration, all the way from coast to one pedal drive. The car preconditions the battery when you navigate to a fast charger, but there's also a button in the infotainment system to do it manually, so that is great. And the car does plan charging stops when your destination exceeds your range. This is the biggest and most expensive electric Kia that money can buy, but it is still a Kia, so don't expect a premium interior. But this is still a Kia, so what you can expect is an interior that is solidly built and nice materials are being used. I have to say the interior of the Kia EV9 is a really pleasant place to be in, especially in this lighter trim. Because this lighter trim helps with a calmer and more roomier vibe than you get with the standard black interior. A thing that I do notice with electric Kias, but also Hyundais, is that they make the dashboard less deep. Combine that with an open space here in the center console, and again that helps with a calmer, more relaxed and roomier vibe. And yes, I do say roomier vibe. This car has a roomier vibe. But the copy space here in the front for the biggest electric Kia is average, because the door pockets do fit a 1 liter bottle but are not that big. The space here under the center armrest is really tiny, and that is because, well, all the space is in the cubby here in the rear. You do have 2 cup holders here and you can close this if you want to, but there is a huge storage space down here. And the glove box is really big, and for some reason, this is the first time I open a glove box, there is a bottle of wine in here. And besides the roomier vibe, they also tried to put the interior full of handy features. Here are some. If you have the electric seats in an electric Kia or Hyundai, you also get the relaxed seats as standard. So that means that by the press of a button, you can put the seat in relax mode, and then it is very comfortable to take a power nap while charging, for example. And this can also be done with the passenger seat. And also by the press of a button, you can put the seat back, of course. Second, this car is a 7-seater as standard, but if you are driving on the highway, for example, and you want to have a conversation with some people on the third row, you do have to yell. That is very difficult because, well, they are 3 meters away. So what Kia and the Hyundai have done is made a conversation mode here in the infotainment system. And it means if you put that on, your voice is picked up by a microphone somewhere here, and then your voice is played through the speakers in the rear, so those people can hear you talking. Very clever. And third, the infotainment system does work with user profiles. So that means I can create a user profile, my partner can create a profile, my child can create a profile, And when I get into the car, I select my profile somewhere in the infotainment system and boom, the car is exactly how I want it to be. But instead of selecting my profile somewhere in the infotainment system, there is also a fingerprint scanner here on the center console. So that means I can link my fingerprint to my profile, I get into the car, hold my finger here and boom, the car is exactly how I want it to be. Speaking about the infotainment system though, because this is the new infotainment system of Kia and also Hyundai. And I have to say it looks a lot like the old system, only it is more extensive, nicer graphics are being used and most important, it is a lot snappier. And again, I did like the previous system and I still like this system. Only this system has the same problem as the old system. And that is that there are a lot of menus, a lot of settings, and it is hard to navigate through all those menus. But Kia and probably also Hyundai have found something for that, because here on the dashboard is a search button, and if I press that, I can search. So I search and then I can search through my navigation destinations, I can search through my contacts, but what also happens is that the system is searching through all the settings that are available in the infotainment system. And that way it is really easy to find something. This is really clever and it is very handy. It will be no surprise that you can get all driving and safety features that are available on the market on this new Kia EV9. And also, just like every other Kia and also Hyundai, because they use the same systems, they work fine. The only thing that I notice is that because this car is wider than average, the lane departure warning triggers more than usual. So, my time with the Korean tank is up. What is my final verdict of the Kia EV9? Well, it is big. A bit too big if you ask me. But that is not up to me. And if you are looking for an electric 7-seater or just a really big electric car, then especially for the money, the Kia EV9 is one of the best options at the moment. And that was my review of the Korean tank. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give a like and do subscribe. If you have something to say, leave a comment. And then, as always, thank you a lot for watching and to be continued.